So the first thing that a beginner should do is write their offer.
Yes.
And they should write it as a sales letter.
Yes.
If it's a school community, just write your about page.
Yes.
And by doing that, it forces you to actually think about what the deliverables of the product actually is.
Yeah, and what the transformation is, right?
Right. So I help X go from A to B.
Yeah.
And then you figure out what that is. So now you have that.
Mm-hmm.
Then you think about, okay, what is something that would bring the right kind of person, use the word a filter, filter the right kind of person into an offer that they would get benefit from and that they would experience value.
Yeah. So you're not able to sell the big thing yet, right?
Yeah.
Because you need to make like a first actual sale of that. So you need to work with people first, and people always want to skip that step.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, I don't want to do one-to-one work. Like, no, you have to do some sort of one-to-one work, right? And if it's just for a month or a couple of months, but this is where you get that insight, as in, how does that look like when you help others?
Right.
Most haven't even helped themselves. No, it's true.
It's so true.
It's true. And this is then no ad and no content in the world will be able to work for you because you don't know what that experience looks like.
Yes.
You don't know what you're selling.
Yeah.
Right? So that needs to be the very first thing.
Perfect.
We have the end goal in mind. We create the filter. We filter the right type of people. Now we have an audience on our email list where we can recontact them without being reliant on the algorithm. Right? So we basically just built our own market research lab.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Oh, I love that.
So that's what we did there.
Yeah.
We're now, because now, it might be that our idea was shit. So now we can retest.
Yeah.
But for free. So we only need to build that core list. And I would say, get it to 500 people. With the way I'm creating ads, you can do this below $500. Now you have a list to remarket to and remarket to and remarket to, and you can re-reach them at no extra cost.
Right.
Right? So that's really good. And the chances that if you keep creating those valuable emails and reporting honestly from your journey and keep offering to help them for free, the chances that you doing that for a month wholeheartedly, that you don't get a handful of clients booked that you can help for free, I think are very, very slim.
Sure.
Right? So it is when people say, oh, it didn't work, I'm like, okay, how many emails did we send? It's like, I sent 3 emails. I'm like, okay, I can't help you.
You sent 10% of what you could have sent.
Yeah, you send. I'm actually recommending people every day send a valuable email every single day.
Cool. So you write the offer.
Yeah.
You then think, okay, what is something that would bring people in front of this offer?
Yeah.
That is then the lead magnet.
Yeah.
And the lead magnet is something that's really, really, really small, that's really, really consumable, that would be attractive to the right type of person who would benefit from your offer.
Yeah.
You then run a Facebook form ad.
Lead generation is the campaign type.
Yeah.
And you use instant form.
Okay.
So everything happens on Facebook. You don't need a pixel setup or anything.
Beautiful. And then how people get access to this freebie, this lead magnet, is they just give you their email address.
Exactly.
Right? On the other side of the email address, they get the valuable thing that's very consumable. Now they're on your list.
Exactly.
And then you start to send them these update emails. And how you do that, the super efficient way, is you just basically create like a Loom diary, if I'm understanding it correctly.
Yeah.
And then you take this transcript, you tidy it up a little bit, and then that's your daily email. And you're just reporting on what you're doing and what's working for you.
Yeah. And it's really good exercise for you as well, because those emails, they actually form the first versions of your core concepts, right? So when you look at Alex from Mozy.
I love this.
Right? So Alex has like all of these bold ideas and you're like, he has a concept for this, he has a concept for that. How do you create your own concepts? What do you think? You reflect on what you experience, you process that experience, and you are like, I think this is a thing now. Right? And I think this is also where so many people leave the chance to becoming more of an expert on the table. It's like you're going through the experience, but you're never reflecting on it. This way of content creation allows you to have a reflective practice, right? So I don't need to think about what would please the algorithm. I'm actually doing something that's inherently valuable, not only for my user, but for myself. And that turns me into an expert that creates a unique body of knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? This really adds to the world because nobody has had that experience the way I did. And now I'm making sense of it and I'm helping others make sense of it. So that's also, I think, the real beauty of it. And that insightfulness is contagious and people because it's so missing in our day-to-day life that we are insightful. We're being so spoon-fed with what we should think, right? And what we should do. And now it's refreshing to hear from someone like processing the genuine experience. And I can see how it creates the desire for people to be in proximity of that.
Right.
And to have that for themselves. And they don't know how it is, but they're craving closeness to that real experience because it's refreshing, because it's something else. They have not heard it before, they have not seen it before, and it's raw and real and actually helpful.
And it's super authentic because it is authentic, because it's actually just what's happening to you in real time.
And then you're like, oh, actually, this, I should create a training on this. This was super helpful, right? Or I did this today and this was a major mess up. Like, how can I avoid doing that in the future, right? So you start to make sense of your experiences, and that's a first step towards productizing and having a product that is more scalable. So a lot of the people, we talked about this, somebody made a post, red flags, right? So many of the school game winners, they're not even there on the leaderboards anymore. And, I wanted to toot my horn because I'm still up there, but then I also wanted to be protective of the people that have done it for the first time. If you never have had a one-to-many offer and you don't have all of this body of knowledge for yourself, you're not sure within yourself, you don't know how to create transformation at scale, right? Because you haven't done that before. It is very, very difficult to sustain that. And I think that's also something that people might overlook, how much resources I've built over the years by having this practice in place, right?
Yeah.
And people always say, like, how can you get so much done? Everything I do has a lot of synergy in that regard, right? And so this is where the ads also come in. Like they create the synergy for me, so I can spend more time doing things that create value on multiple places. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because you systematize and you productize the lessons that you've learned.
Exactly.
And that is the asset that you sell.
That's the asset you sell, right? You basically creating your marketing materials become the foundation of your course. And with that, they are always valuable, and people are not feeling like, that's also something about free content. People are always like, oh, I'm afraid to give away too much value, right? And that way, and then on the other end, so then either it leads to them not giving any content at all or only giving fluffiness, right? And so with the way I'm describing it, it's like, you're being tremendously valuable, right? And then that thing is inside your membership and people come in and they're like, oh yeah, I read this. Like, what did you mean there? And how should we do it? And so because it is kind of genuinely valuable, people are like, I have questions, right? And then you're like, oh, well, I have an answer. Oh, and by the way, that makes me think of this. And so it just creates this beautiful cycle of you up-leveling as well, because you always kind of process and get out what you actually experience.
Right.
And so that's the type of content I highly recommend people do.
Yeah.
And it's so low effort and it's so high leverage because you just need to talk out. And it's also therapeutic to sit down in front of a room and be like, and then you have the transcript and then you're like, oh yeah, there's the lesson. Oh, thank God. There was a lesson in today, So
just funny, I did not expect to quote this name in an episode with you, but Gary Vee has a great thing where he says it's far easier to document than it is to create.
Oh yeah.
And that's what you've laid out. You're actually just documenting.
Exactly.
You don't need to create anything. You just document and reflect on the actual journey.
Yeah. And with that, it's also low cognitive effort because I never have to make something up. I never have to manufacture something.
Wow.
Right? So I'm starting with reverse engineering from the offer. Mm-hmm. That's the entry point. Have the right filter. And with that, I just have the conversations with the people of bringing that offer to life.
Yes.
Right? And with that, it already nurtures people towards when I'm ready because I'm just saying, here's what I'm working on and here are the challenges I'm encountering. And so I'm just reporting also from creating the product. Mm-hmm. And that in itself also gives people a sense of ownership. Right. And it works for any community type as well.
Yeah.
Right? So people really feel like genuinely, they have been on the journey with you. You shared your struggle. They might, have similar challenges. You can help them. Mm-hmm. You obviously help people because you report about the people that you help. Right? And then it's so much easier to, when you open doors, say, I'm ready for the first beta clients. Okay. And then my first beta offer I sold after a month and I made $10,000 in sales. So it was a one-to-one program for 12 weeks for $997, and I sold 10 spots.
Unbelievable.
And it was really not as hard as I thought.